What's going on, everyone? Thanks for checking out this video. Today I'm going to show you a new bike from Heybike. This is a new model called the Horizon, and they sent this to me in their sunset color. It's a limited edition color. Step-through frame design, 750 watt fat tire e-bike, and it's a 24x4 tire size. I've had a fair amount of people asking me, where are the 24x4s? Here's an example of one. Let's check it out. All right, folks, we're checking out a new model from Heybike, and they call this one the Horizon. This is their sunset color, limited edition color run. It fades from like yellow to orange to, in the back here, it's, I don't know if I call this like a pink or salmon, but definitely a very bright, loud paint job. If this isn't your cup of tea, I believe they are going to offer additional colors for paint. They weren't able to tell me which colors yet, but there should be color options available. But now let's start with some basic info. How much does it cost? I believe this bike will be offered for $17.99. And if you buy it on pre-sale, you put 50 bucks down and they give you a coupon for $300 off. So all said and done, you're going to pay about $15.50 for the Horizon. And if they give me any additional discount codes or anything like that, I'll put those in the description below for you. Now let's start taking a look at some of the components so you know what you get for your money. And just stand here looking at it, you might not recognize that these are actually smaller wheels and tires. It's a 24x4 tire size. They're Choyang, I'm not sure how you say it exactly, hippo skins. They have a little bit of traction on them there if you get yourself a little bit off-road or into wet grass. Plenty of grip, and they have just a slight hum on the pavement, but that's pretty much the case with all fat tires. Some are louder, some are quieter, but the fat tires all generally have a little bit of a hum going down the pavement. You can see you do not have a quick release. It's a bolt-on axle for the front wheel. You've got 180 millimeter hydraulic disc brakes. They say RSX on them. I don't know if I've ever had these brakes before, but they were awesome. These were great brakes. I really like those. Better than the Zoom brakes, maybe equivalent or better than the Tektro. So we'll see if that continues and they hold up, but they were quiet, they were smooth, great stopping power. Really like the brakes on this. There was no branding on the front fork, so I'm not sure who makes it, but it worked for me just fine. You know, it's got multiple levels of adjustment here on the top, so I could get it dialed in to where I liked it. So no issue with the front fork. The headlight looks pretty cool. Kind of a bigger headlight. Let me turn it on for you real quick. All right, there you go. So whenever the bike is turned on, you've got Heybike illuminated. It's like a daytime running light. It's just always on when the bike's on. And then for the headlight, there's a switch up here. You flip that on. It's like a spotlight style headlight, but it's a little bit larger than normal. So I like that. They always look better when they're a little bit bigger. And the other thing about the headlight, so here's your headlight switch right here, but it has this auto button underneath the throttle, which is for the auto sensing headlights. If you push that button and turn that on, whenever it gets dark, the headlights will automatically come on. Now, one thing I want to point out about that is the auto sensing system is kind of separate from the bike's display. So if you go out for a ride, you come back to your garage, it's daylight, you park your bike and you leave that auto sensing system on. When it turns to nighttime, the bike's just going to be sitting in your garage and the headlights are going to pop on, start draining your battery potentially. So remember to turn that auto sensing system off when you're done riding the bike. Now, in addition to the headlight, you've got a complete lighting package on the Horizon bike. That means tail light, brake light, and turn signals. I got them flashing there so you can see. And the turn signals are both front and rear. The turn signals are hidden inside the headlight right here. And they kind of wrap around to the side, so you get a side marker light too. Pretty cool. Not common that you see front turn signals. I think I've maybe only ever seen that on one other e-bike. Rack and fenders are included. They are plastic fenders, both front and back. And then you'll have to install these upon setup. The setup's pretty straightforward. You're gonna have to attach the handlebars, the front wheel, the front fender, attach the rear rack, and then bolt on the headlight and spin on the pedals. Shouldn't take you more than an hour to get up and running. At the front of the frame, you can see you got mounting point here for front basket, so expect they'll offer that on the website. And let's talk about this frame for a second, because it's a folding frame. This bike folds in half right here. The mechanism is on the other side. I'll go here so you can see it. And I like and dislike folding frame bikes. I like them because it's great to have that option if you need to fold it. However, they tend to be pretty heavy and awkward when they're folded up and maybe difficult to load. Now, I did take a video myself folding this bike up so you can see what that's like. They all pretty much fold the same way. I mean, they fold in half at the frame and then the handlebars flop down. But until you do it a few times and figure out how to exactly get it collapsed together, it can be a little bit awkward. And then once you've got it all folded up, it still weighs the same and it can be kind of difficult to lift it, finding a good spot to grab it This bike weighs 80 pounds. So picking this thing up in the air and moving it around or trying to lift it up into a truck bed or into a SUV, I would suggest that you get help from a friend to do that. And even getting them opened back up can be a little bit awkward at times until you do it enough times and find out, the grab points of where you got to pull on this thing to get it unpretzeled. But it does fold up for those of you looking for that feature. Again, I would just say if you're going to fold it up and then lift it into something, grab a buddy to help you out. All right, now let's take a look at all the handlebar controls. You've got locking leather grips with the palm rest, your hydraulic brakes. It is a right-hand thumb throttle. Again, underneath there is your auto button for the auto sensing headlight. It's a 7-speed thumb shifter. And then over here on this side, all your control buttons. So headlight, turn signals, horn, and then this controls the display. And I will say this is a very nice button cluster. This is kind of like rubber coated and it's really soft. It doesn't look cheap at all. It looks really nice. All right, we moved over to the shade so you can see this display a little bit better. And you'll notice that it says off. Whenever you turn this bike off, it says off on the screen. The only way to get rid of this is you pull the battery out of the frame and there's a switch, a red switch on the battery. You flip that off and then this will be totally blank because it won't have any power. So if you're wondering why it says off there, that's why. But let's turn it on so you can see what it looks like. It is not a color display, just black and white, but it gives you a lot of information. Odometer, trip meter, all that, your pedal assist level, speed, the time. It's got battery voltage and also the battery indicator. And you can see it's got a little Bluetooth signal flashing. You can connect to this bike using the Heybike app, which I did, and it worked really well. Actually, I was kind of surprised. I've had multiple bikes where there's an app that you have to connect, and sometimes they're very cumbersome. This one was extremely easy. It goes off really fast. I got the shut off set pretty quick, but I downloaded the app and just opened it up and hit connect the bike and it was connected. It was very simple to use. So inside the app, it looked like there was kind of a proximity key where once it's connected to your phone, if you go so far away from the bike, I think it locks the bike down, and you can also track your rides, share your rides. It might be good if you're going out to try to map something like on your property. You want to know how far it is? You could go out there and use the Heybike app and get a good idea of the distance. The display programming is really easy as well. You just hold plus and minus and it'll take you into all the settings. The mode key toggles through. So this one's your power on gear, and then your temperature. This one's for odometer reset. You've got your backlight, how bright you want the screen to be. This one's for units, metric or imperial. So it just kind of tells you what every setting is in plain English. I like that. Your battery voltage there. This is the auto off, so after 10 minutes it should sleep. And pedal assist levels, you can change your number of levels of pedal assist. I know everyone likes that. This is wheel size. I've got mine set to 26. That's about right. I mean, from ground to top of tires, 27 inches on this. And this is for magnet numbers. Yeah, so some of these you don't need to change in here, but it's all really simple and easy to program. Now let's talk about battery pack. So it's integrated into the frame. There's a key on the other side. You just turn the key. It'll release the battery and you can pull it right out of there. It's really, really easy to get the battery in and out of this. I like it when they drop in from the top instead of from underneath. It's just a lot easier to get out. And it's a 48 volt, 14.4 amp hour battery pack. I would say it's on the smaller size. I'd love it if they could get that a little bit larger, maybe up to like 17.5 amp hour. But just to give you an idea, I did a quick range test on it and I put it in pedal assist 3. I did pedal, but not really putting a lot of effort in. And it was allowing me to maintain about 16 to 18 miles per hour, maybe like 350 to 600 watts as I'm rolling down at that speed. And I went 25 miles. So 25 miles with the bike doing the vast majority of the work. And for someone like me who doesn't ride more than like 20, 25 miles at a time, that's plenty. However, if you're gonna be someone that is out on this bike all day long, you might need to get a spare battery pack or hook up a battery blender for additional battery capacity. Now let's give you some close-ups on the rear suspension. So Horselink rear suspension, and it did great. I mean, very comfy ride. I was very pleased with the suspension. It seemed to have the right spring rate for me. I weigh 180 pounds and it wasn't too stiff, it wasn't too soft. I guess if you were drastically different weight than me, it might feel too stiff or too soft for you, but there's no adjustment in this shock. You'd have to buy a different shock if you wanted to adjust it, but at least for me at 180, it felt really nice. It pivots and moves in a lot of different places, so it made for a pretty comfy ride. And even with the rear shock right here, you still have plenty of room to get through the step-through. Step-through height is 17.25 inches. The seat heights, so the minimum seat height is 33 inches. The maximum seat height is 41 inches. I was able to get it, you know, adjusted for me being 6 feet tall into a nice comfortable ride position. I also took some clips of my wife riding the Horizon bike. Everybody always wants to know what's a short rider look like on the e-bikes, and the shortest rider I've got able to show you is my wife, who's 5'4". So she typically likes the seat to be down to about 32 inches when she rides. You know, she's not a full leg extension type rider. When she comes to a stop sign, she just wants to remain on the bike seat and put her feet flat on the ground. So she was able to get on this bike and ride around the block, no issues. However, with the smaller wheel and tire size, you know, only being 24-inch wheels, I thought the seat height would end up being lower. I'd love to see them get that down another inch or two. If they could get it down to maybe like 31, it's just going to give it access to more shorter riders. But now let's take a look at your gearing up front. You've got a double-sided plastic cover on the chainring, and it's a 48 tooth, and then on the back is a 1428, which I say is okay for this bike. I mean, the max speed's about 28 miles an hour. Once you get up to 25, 28, you're pedaling pretty quick. I have a video clip of me pedaling. I think I was going about 25 miles an hour at that point, maybe up to 28. And I'm in 7th gear. I'm in the, you know, the highest gear, and my legs are spinning pretty good. But you might have enough room right here if you wanted to put on a 52 tooth. I think you could probably squeeze one in there and still be far enough away from the frame if you did want to change out the gearing and get a little bit more pedal feel at higher speeds. And last but not least, we've got our geared hub motor in the rear wheel. It's a 750 watt geared hub motor, peaks at 1200 watts, they say. And that's about what it was showing me on the display screen. It does have a watt meter that you can put on the screen. I was seeing it about, you know, 1250 up to 1290 at its peak. So that seems accurate. I don't know what brand it is. It just says Heybike on it, and it's extremely quiet. I'd love to know what brand it is, because one of the quietest motors I've ever heard. It's a very silent ride. The tires aren't overly loud, and you can't hear that motor at all. So good choice on the rear motor, and I think this is the spot where we go take a look at the performance footage, so let's check that out. All right, let's see if we can give this bike a throttle-only top speed run. Now, your throttle power is linked to your pedal assist number, so we got to go all the way up to pedal assist 5. That way we got full power in this throttle. Let's punch it, here we go. We got some curves here to do, and then we'll hit a nice long straight stretch. So we're up to 20, 22, 23, 25, 27, 28, 29, holding at about 29. So there's your throttle only top speed, 28, 29. All right, so I mentioned your throttle's linked to pedal assist. So in pedal assist 1, the throttle is only going to carry you to like 7, 8 miles an hour. Pedal assist 2 is going to bring you up to about 13, 12, 13-ish. And then so on. Higher the pedal assist, the more you get out of the throttle. But let's make our way up here over to the hill climb. We'll see how strong it is on the hill. All right, hill climb test. This is a 750 watt e-bike. Peaks at like 1200-ish, they say on the website. Most of the 750 bikes go up this hill between 22 and 25 seconds. So let's see how fast this Heybike is. 3, 2, 1, go. Pretty slow off the line. We'll see how it builds speed as we go, though. I'm in pedal assist 5, so I've got full power out of the throttle. I'm not pedaling at all. I'm not helping this bike. This hill's like a 10 to 12% grade. It's a little steeper right here. And then we cut the time right there. If I had to guess, I'm going to say that's probably in the 25, 26 range. But, I mean, it's making up this hill no problem, no effort from me. So it's pretty, I'd say standard, 750 watt power. One thing I can't get over on this bike is just how quiet it is. The tires have a little bit of a noise to them, but the motor, I'm going to start pedaling and see if you can even hear it kick in. I mean, it's so silent. It's one of the quietest motors I've ever heard. I can't even hear it, honestly. I cannot hear it right now at all. Some motors, you can really hear them running. The ones with the metal gears inside, they can be pretty darn loud. This one is dead silent. I'm shocked at that. I don't know what motor brand that is, but it is very quiet. This whole bike rides very smooth and very, very quiet. Now, these handlebars are not very wide. They're only like 24, 25 inches wide. And I keep finding myself like wanting to physically move my hands out here and ride with a wider grip. I wish these handlebars were 2 or 3 inches wider, but I suppose it would be helpful if you were in a high traffic area and you needed to cut in between things, having a more narrow bar. But I would like them either wider, or if they could do like a swept back handlebar, I think that would be really cool, and it would match the look of this bike as well. Now for your pedal assist, it is speed based, not watt based. So when you're pedal assist 1, it takes you to a certain mile per hour. Pedal assist 2 takes you to the next mile per hour mark. Instead of giving you a set amount of power per pedal assist, it just brings you to a set speed. Folks are always kind of curious how that's set up. So this one is speed based. All right, let's see if we can't do a quick acceleration test for you. It doesn't have a real hard hit off the line. That's probably what hurt its time on the hill climb. But here's an idea of what it's like to accelerate. 3, 2, 1, go. Kind of a gradual takeoff. See how long it takes us to get up to 20 here. And 20. So not a blazing fast takeoff, but it's a nice gradual build into the power. I mean, it does feel like it has okay power. It's just not a hard hitting bike off the line, which is probably what most people want, because it makes it really easy to drive. It's really easy to ride. It's not scary power. You're never gonna kind of put you off guard because it's like so powerful. You hit the throttle and it just jolts you. It doesn't do that at all. It's really gradual build into the power. All right, let's give our suspension a little bit of a test through this field here. I mean, it feels pretty nice. You don't really even have to get off the seat. Yeah, it soaks up pretty much everything. Good suspension. I like this suspension. I love full suspension bikes. It makes the ride so much nicer. This one does work pretty well. I weigh 180. I seem to spring it pretty easily. But there's a bunch of big roots through here. Let's go over these. Oh, these are real rough. But again, you don't really feel it. It's pretty bouncy, pretty soft. Yep, passes my test anyway. I think you're going to be happy with the suspension on this thing. If you've never had a full suspension bike and then you get on one like this, you're like, it's like riding on a cloud. All right, stability test. See if we can ride with no hands. Yeah, you can do it. It's kind of back and forth. It's not super easy. It doesn't feel like really locked on, but you can do it. It's not really pulling left or right. It's back and forth. It's like you have to actively manage the balance. So, but yeah, it doesn't pull one way or the other, so that's good. All right, well, hopefully that ride footage gave you a little bit better feel for what it's like being out on the Horizon bike. And as we wrap things up here, let's just talk about some of the things that I think they got right. What did they get right? The wheel and tire package. People have been asking me, where are the 24x4 tire bikes? Here you go. I think they're going to grab a piece of the market that's been underserved with that wheel and tire package, so they did good there. I think they got that right. The step through and the suspension. They managed to get a nice rear suspension on there and still have a clear step through design where you can get through there easily. So I think they nailed that. The brakes. Awesome brakes. I really like these brakes a lot. That's great. They weren't noisy. They were smooth, quiet. They worked well. I really like the brakes. The motor and the power delivery, I think they got that right. This motor is super quiet, very nice, and the power delivery is very smooth. Activates very smoothly. It's not twitchy. It's not jerky. It's very friendly. The folding frame design, although I'm not a big folding bike fan, I do see the benefits of it. And if you go out and buy a $1,500 bicycle and then you don't have a bike rack, now you got to go drop another $500 on a bike rack to be able to transport it. I mean, with this bike, you wouldn't have to do that. You could fold it up and put it in the back of your SUV and take it where you need to go. And another thing I'll say about the folding design is this one was quiet. I've been on a lot of folding bikes, and sometimes this mechanism right here, as you ride the bike, it'll be very creaky and make noise. And this one didn't do that at all. So I do like the folding mechanism on this one. It was pretty quiet. Other things they got right, I think the lighting package they got right. They gave you everything: headlight, brake light, tail light, turn signals, front and back. I mean, it's an electric bike. I kind of feel like it doesn't take much effort to wire up some lights. So they did good there. And then last I'll say is the wiring management's pretty good. It's pretty clean here. They got it wrapped nicely. It's hard to manage all the wires on an e-bike. So this is not a bad job here on the wiring. Looks pretty good. And then the buttons up here. Sometimes these button clusters and things will look really kind of cheap and flimsy, and these don't at all. They're really nice, soft rubber on the touch, and I think they did a good job picking those. Oh, and actually one more thing I think they got right, the way the battery loads in from the top. I like that a lot. I hate it when the battery comes out the bottom. It's kind of cumbersome with the wheel, so they got that right too. Now let's talk about a couple things I think may have a little room for improvement. And the first I'm going to say is the seat height. Being that it's got the smaller wheel tire package, I thought the seat would actually go lower. It goes down to 33 inches. I'd love to see them get that seat down to like maybe 31, just to allow access to more of the shorter riding crowd. Next, I'll say the gearing. This is a 48 tooth on the front. I'd love to see them get that to 52, just to give you a little bit more feeling in the pedals. I put this bike into 7th gear, and I don't think I left 7th gear the whole entire time I rode it. Next, I'll say the battery capacity has some room for improvement. This is a 48 volt, 14.4 amp hour battery pack. And although in the past, I think 14 amp hours was kind of the standard, it's now, as time goes on, become one of the smaller sizes offered. So as with every electric vehicle, people are always concerned about range and have range anxiety. So I think the bigger you can go on this battery pack, the better. I'd love to see them get it to maybe 17.5 or even 20 amp hours if possible. For the folks out there who want to do really long rides with the bike and maybe not pedal a whole lot, I think that would definitely put their mind more at ease. And the last thing I'll bring up, which may or may not need updating, just depending on your preferences, would be the handlebar width. So from the end to end of the bars is 24 inches. Most of the bikes I'm on, it's usually like 28 or 29 inches wide. So I was getting the feeling as I was riding that my hands felt too close together. You know, you don't really get a chance to ride these bikes before you buy them. So I always kind of like to bring up the things that I notice while I'm riding. And that was just one thing. I felt like my hands were a little bit too close together. It's kind of a standard size on the width of the handlebar right here. So you could swap these out really easily if you wanted wider ones. And I think it would be really cool too if they gave you a swept back handlebar option. I think that would look really good on this bike. What do you guys think? Drop in the comments. Swept back bars on this one? But anyway, overall, smooth, comfortable, quiet riding bike. Definitely accessible. I think one to check out if it's caught your eye. All right, folks, that's the Horizon bike. Be sure to let Heybike know in the comments what you think of the new model. And if you have any questions I missed, put those in the comments as well. I'll do my best to answer if I can. Thanks to Heybike for giving me a chance to ride and test this bike and put all this information out here for all of you to use. If you do decide that you want to buy the Horizon bike, use any discount codes or the link below. That'll help me keep making videos for all of you. And as always, I hope you found this video helpful, informative, maybe at least entertaining. If you did, consider hitting subscribe, and I'll talk to y'all later. Thanks.